Today we're making animal collages. There are so many different shaped animals and creatures in our world. It's so much fun to look at the animals that we see in our home, our pets, in our neighborhood, in zoos, and in pictures, in books, and on the internet. Today we're going to be continuing our collage unit. We've already studied how to make different shapes, freeform and geometric shapes. We've made compositions with separate shapes, and we've made compositions with touching shapes. Today, we're going to work with overlapping shapes. What is an overlapping shape? It's a shape that sits over or on top of or in front of another shape. We're going to be doing collages of four-legged animals because when you make a collage of a four-legged animal, there are some shapes that you might need to overlap to make the animal feel real. We're especially going to look at how with four-legged animals, two of the legs seem to be in the front of the body and two legs are behind the body. This is exciting, so let's get started. Watch me make an animal first, and then you can decide on what animal you would like to make a collage of. You'll need some paper, either construction paper or some junk paper from around the house that might be in different colors. You'll need some glue or a glue stick, and you can use scissors if you want, or you can use tearing techniques that we've already learned if you'd rather do that. We'll start with the basic body shape. Most animals are either an oval or rectangular shape. Start cutting your basic body shape. Remember, if you're using scissors, that your thumb points toward the ceiling. The shape I'm cutting is kind of like a rectangle, but the angles are a little different. It's a quadrilateral, meaning it has four sides. Notice how I'm playing with the shape to get it the way that I want it. Now I'm going to make the legs. I'm going to fold the paper so that I get two of the same shape when I cut. See how I open it up and cut it to make two separate shapes that are the same? Now I'll do two more because we're making four-legged creatures. Now here's where it gets interesting, where we're going to deal with overlap. When we look at animals, we usually see the body with the two legs in front, and then we see their two legs sort of behind the body. So if we put all four legs in the front of the body, it makes the body seem very flat. But if instead we take two of the legs and we place them behind the body starts to look more like it's moving in space, like it's real. You can move them around to play with the placement until it feels like it's walking. Don't glue it down until you get it the way you want it. Can you see the difference between all four legs in front and two legs in front and two legs behind the body? The next part of the body you're going to think about is the neck. The animal that I chose has such an unusual neck that you'll be able to guess what I'm making right now. I looked at a picture of the animal that I wanted to make on my computer, and I noticed the shape of the neck. It was kind of like a long rectangle, but it was a little bit curvy. So I cut it the way that I saw it and glued it on. Now it's time for the tail. Look at the shape of your animal's tail and try to cut a shape that matches it. When you're thinking about placement, think about the animal's skeleton, the bones inside. The tail comes off of the backbone or spine of the animal. Now it's time to cut the head. Some heads are more circular. Some are more oval. Some are more triangular. Some are more rectangular. My giraffe's head is a little bit of a rectangle, but it's also a little bit triangular. So I'm cutting the shape that seems closest to what I see. And I'm going to figure out where the best place to put it is and glue it down. Now that I have the basic shapes, I can start to add details like the eyes, the horns, the ears, and ears are in all different shapes, and one is sometimes in front or part of the head and the other is behind. Sometimes ears have a color inside so you can see the inside and the outside of the ear. I've torn these shapes so they have a fuzzy edge. The giraffe has a mane like a horse has a mane, and I'm going to tear that too because it has a very kind of fuzzy textural look that I like. And the giraffe has lots of wonderful and fun spots. Watch me put them on. I'm tearing little piles of brown paper and putting them on. I'm gluing underneath them and pushing them into the glue because it's easier that way. My giraffe is done. And the great news is you can make all animals, all four-legged animals this way. Watch me make my dog. First I cut a shape for her body. Then I added her neck, which has something called a ruff. A ruff is when the dog has thick, longer hair growing around their neck. Next, I added her head. And here are all four legs on top of the body. It's before I overlap. Watch how the dog changes in a way that almost seems magical when I put one of the front legs behind and one of the front legs in front. Now I'm doing the same with the rear legs. One is in front of the body, closer to me, and one is behind the body, further away. Now it's time for the tail. I cut a shape for my dog's tail and I put it on. Now I'm going to make her ears. Her ears are pointy like triangles, and once again there's overlap. One is in front of her face and one is behind, and I can play with the positioning as you see. It's time to add the other details, including the eyes. You can include anything you see on your animal. Now that you've seen me do two different four-legged animals, you can make one of your own. Do you want to do a collage of a pet or an animal you know? Or would you rather do a collage of an exotic animal or an animal you saw at the zoo, or even an imaginary animal that has four legs? Just do the animal today. Don't do the background. I'm going to repeat that. Don't make the background because we're going to make the background for our animals next week. I can't wait to see your animal. Remember to upload it to your Google Classroom file, and you can also put it on your Padlet for fun. No background.